In December of 2022, Sevilla's famed director of football, Monchi, said that signing Isco was a mistake. And if they were to allow him to stay at the club, quote, it would have been a further mistake to continue with the error. When speaking of why a player has gone from being a serial Champions League winner to without a club at just 30 years old, there's no single event or reason you can point to, but of course, that doesn't stop us lazy humans from trying to just point to a single reason why something didn't quite work out, or why something went completely wrong.
As soon as Sampaoli arrived, I knew that Isco's future in Sevilla was pretty much done. I think the writing was a bit on the wall for him.
Just as Isco was a fantastic player because he was multifaceted, how he went from Real Madrid to having his contract terminated at Sevilla and having a transfer deadline day move to Union Berlin collapse is, indeed, a multifaceted story in itself.
And it just didn't work. If you can call it like a sequel to a really, really good movie and the sequel just disappoints, that's sort of what Isco in Sevilla was.
What's up, everyone? My name is Adrian and welcome to Rabona TV, where we have a great lineup to get into just what has gone wrong for Isco, who, as I said earlier, is still only 30 years old and could have a lot to offer if the right project comes along for him. First up, we have Lucas Navarrete, the chief editor for Managing Madrid, as well as Jonas Jaever from the podcast La Liga Loca, as well as one of the founders of FC Quiz App, which this is not an ad, but it's a fantastic app with daily and weekly quizzes. It's a ton of fun, guys. You should definitely check it out if you want to test your football knowledge on a variety of leagues and get addicted to it. It's linked below. All right, before we get to the more difficult times, let's look at how he grew as a player from Malaga to Real Madrid with a quick word from our sponsors, a real ad this time, in between there. Isco's breakout year in Spain will have come in the 2011-12 season, where he established himself as a regular in Malaga's 11. Remember, Malaga at this time was pushing to be a Champions League caliber side under Manuel Pellegrini, following some interesting signings for the club. Ruud van Nistelrooy was there for a time, as was Javier Saviola, Toulalan, Joaquin, Martin Demichelis, Eliseu, Roque Santa Cruz, Duda. It was an interesting few seasons at Malaga, that's for sure. While his breakout in Spain was the 11-12 season, he established himself as a fantastic talent, one of the most sought-after young talents in the game, thanks to how he helped Malaga to a Champions League quarterfinals run in the 2012-13 season, a run that was seconds away from being a semi-finals run if it wasn't for two second-half stoppage time goals from Borussia Dortmund. Remember that match back in 2013? It will be 10 years ago in April of this year. All the while, Isco was hailed for his brilliance on the ball, his ability to dribble out of tight situations on the wing, his vision, and his passing ability. Not to mention he could supply a few goals now and then. But it was his ability in the build-up to goals which stood out the most, whether he was playing on the left wing, which he favored most, or playing through the middle behind the strikers. He had been so good for Malaga and had contributed so much to their rise that in the middle of his final season with the club, December of 2012, he won the Golden Boy Award, finishing ahead of Thibaut Courtois and Stephen El Shaarawy. And in winning, Isco joined the ranks of previous winners such as Lionel Messi, Sergio Aguero, Wayne Rooney, and Cesc Fabregas. That's pretty good company to keep. Having freshly turned 21 at the end of the 2012-13 season, he signed with Real Madrid for 30 million euros, as the fresh-faced Spaniard became Carlo Ancelotti's first signing at Real Madrid, establishing himself as a reliable player under the new coach. Now, it's rumored that part of the reason as to why he was seen as so trustworthy was because Carlo Ancelotti appreciated Isco's beard? What? Really? I think we need to fact check that, but if you want to appear trustworthy, yeah, rather than truly unruly, like your beard. Wait, you again? Yeah, it's me again, here to remind you to shave before you film your videos, man. Remember last time when you used like a ball trimmer to shave your face? Well, first of all, I'm not going to shave in the middle of a video, man. And yeah, I mean, the lawnmower can absolutely be used as a beard trimmer. There's nothing weird about it. Can. But now, Manscaped has a beard hedger to take care of your face. You should go give it a shot now. I gave myself a mustache. It's springtime, ladies and fellas, and that means spring cleaning. Our friends at Manscaped have the best tools for that. You all know about how you can keep your body's basement clean with their products, but now with their Beard Hedger Pro Kit, you can keep that face looking handsome. We're talking Isco handsome, or at least close to. There's no guarantees there. dependent on many factors. Of course, the kit comes with the aforementioned beard hedger, which is a waterproof and cordless trimmer with 20 hair cutting lengths, all with one guard. So there's no fumbling around for the appropriate guard like you're digging through a container of Legos. Plus, with titanium coated blades, you will slice and dice through your beard hair while being smooth on your skin, your facial skin. It's all high-end modern tech, but in a travel size. Plus, the Beard Hedger Pro kit comes with liquid stuff as well. Stuff like their beard shampoo and conditioner that helps replenish your natural oils and promote beard health, as well as a beard oil and a beard balm. And get this, Christmas was a few months ago. Your mom forgot about your birthday again this year, but Manscaped, their Beard Hedger Pro kit comes with 3 free gifts: a beard brush, comb, and scissors. Nobody can stop you with this stuff. So guys, save 20% off and free shipping with the code RabonaTV at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code RabonaTV at manscaped.com. Focus on the face and use the Beard Hedger Pro kit for the cleanest look in the game. When a player is coming off of an incredible season as Isco had with Malaga, and you add the Golden Boy Award on top of that, the intensity of expectations rise. When you also add in the aforementioned move to Real Madrid to play under a now legendary manager in Karl Ancelotti, well, the intensity of expectation increases even further. But with Isco, he continued on his great trajectory, not only fitting in with Real Madrid and all of their stars, but adding great value to their campaign. And what a first campaign it was with them. Isco contributed to Real Madrid winning both the Copa del Rey as well as the Champions League, where he was seconds away from the semis with Malaga, but fell against Borussia Dortmund. This time, he got his revenge against that club.
In Dortmund, in the return leg, Real Madrid were struggling. Dortmund only needed 1 goal to send the game to extra time in the quarterfinals. And he basically entered the game and changed the course of the game, having no issues with the pressure of the Signal Iduna Park, and pretty much allowing Madrid to have control of the game.
And his influence didn't stop there either, as Ancelotti called upon Isco and Marcelo in the 59th minute of the 2014 Champions League final in Lisboa. Well, Marcelo's impact will have been felt with the goal he scored in extra time to take the match away from Atletico, as well as other things, of course. Isco's presence, his role in the comeback, cannot be understated either.
He came off the bench with Marcelo and turned the game around completely. So we all probably thought that he was going to become an undisputed starter for many years in Madrid. Didn't quite achieve that kind of role. For the price also, I think it was an amazing signing back in the day for sure.
His second season would be slightly more difficult for him, but even in saying that, Real Madrid were close to glory on multiple fronts. A mid-season wobble in form saw them finish just 2 points behind Barcelona in La Liga, while in the Champions League, they were just edged out by Juve in the semi-finals. Funnily enough, it was a Morata goal at the Bernabeu that ultimately sank Real Madrid and saw Juve make the final. But all the while, Isco once again played an important role for Real, which would be the norm in the early years with the club. In total, he was with Real Madrid for 5 Champions League titles. How did it come to be that a player who featured in every final but the 2022 final, who played important roles throughout, how did he fall to this level at Real Madrid, where across all competitions, he played just 407 minutes across 17 appearances? Well, there are a few things at play here. His best position on the pitch, as well as a lack of trust.
Where he played in Malaga on that left wing, obviously that's Cristiano Ronaldo's position since he pretty much arrived in Madrid, so it was hard for him to get to that role. But it's true that Ancelotti found him that spot as a central midfielder during his first few seasons in Madrid. Kroos wasn't here just yet, so there was kind of a bit of an opening there alongside Alonso and Modric as the third central midfielder. But also Real Madrid, basically after his first season in Madrid, they decided to buy James and play James in that spot, so it was hard for him to establish himself in that role as a central midfielder. And then with Zidane, as soon as Bale wasn't available, yeah, he could play on the right wing, but that's definitely not his best spot. Him being a central midfielder was probably a bit too tough and too physically demanding for him, and that's obviously one of his main weaknesses as a player. So having him playing in a 4-3-3 as a central midfielder was a bit tough for him, I think.
Regarding injuries, yes, he would accumulate some later in his Real Madrid career, namely some back pain that kept on coming back to haunt him, but that wasn't the main reason for his misfortune.
I just think that the club, for some reason, never actually trusted him much to become an undisputed starter, or to give him a role as a starter in an entire season. We all thought he was going to be a starter after his first season in Madrid, when also Di Maria had left. And then Real Madrid decided to sign James, and James played in that role instead. As soon as James struggled and left, Kroos signed for Madrid, so you had also established the Casemiro, Kroos and Modric role midfield, which worked perfectly. I mean, I don't think if you replace either one of the three with Isco, that I don't think the team would have done any better. But it's just a matter of him not finding this trust from the club. I think in terms of giving him a role as a starter.
So when did things really start to fall apart for Isco at Real Madrid? Of course, he won 4 Champions League titles from 2014 to 2018, and he played significant roles all along. And those exploits earned him an important role within the national setup of Spain as well.
It must be said that Isco played his best football probably of his career under Lopetegui for the Spanish national team. I mean, there's a lot of people that still talk about that match he had for Spain against Italy, where he embarrassed Verratti, every time he got the ball. I mean, he had the nutmeg and he just completely played him off the pitch. So once Lopetegui got him first at Real Madrid, everyone thought that he's going to build up Isco into this juggernaut of a playmaker for that team. And then obviously Lopetegui didn't get that much time there because he was disastrous he was horrible at Real Madrid.
Now, while Lopetegui was ousted in a rather quick fashion, Solari arrived with the task of righting the ship. Unfortunately for certain players within the Real Madrid setup, that meant that their roles would be reviewed under the interim coach, and opportunities would be handed to youngsters like Vinicius and Valverde.
At the end of the day, the beginning of the end in that relationship was definitely when Lopetegui was sacked, then Solari arrived, and it was pretty much the beginning of the end for both Isco and Marcelo. I think Isco was obviously hoping to find some crucial minutes under Lopetegui, because Lopetegui has always been a big fan of Isco's game. When these two guys have reunited, it seems that nothing goes their way for whatever reason, not even for the Spanish national team. Isco was a crucial player for Lopetegui's Spanish national team, and then the whole fiasco with Lopetegui ahead of the 2018 World Cup happened.
But following Lopetegui and Solari was a familiar face in Zidane, which no doubt would have given Isco hope that he could re-establish himself within Real Madrid's setup, given how important he was to Zidane previously. But things hadn't changed, even with the return of a familiar face in Zidane, and from there, they didn't change with yet another return in Carlo Ancelotti.
His attitude behind closed doors wasn't ideal, because he gained a lot of weight. It seems to me that he didn't work hard in training after what happened with Solari, because in fact Zidane liked Isco during his first tenure in Madrid, and in his second tenure never actually trusted him. So something clearly went on. So Ancelotti was also one of the coaches who trusted Isco during his first tenure in Madrid, and last year he barely got to play. So things weren't going his way after Solari's decision to bench him pretty much every single game. Mainly, again, I have to give some responsibility to Isco. I think Isco didn't take care of himself the right way.
But Isco, following those Solari benchings that he was receiving, he started to speak out against the opportunities that he wasn't receiving and show his frustration. While under Solari, Isco wrote, quote, "When you don't have the same opportunities as your teammates, things change." Even under Zidane, a guy who had previously said that Isco reminds him of himself when it comes to his abilities and playing style, Isco was not the favored choice for minutes, and Isco was caught on camera speaking to Marcelo and Modric about it, saying, quote, "If Zidane has to take me off, he takes me off in the 50th or 60th minute, sometimes at halftime. If he has to bring me on, he brings me on in the 80th minute." Then, again, under Ancelotti, who also, as mentioned, didn't trust him like he used to during his first stint, Isco refused to warm up against Granada in November of 2021 when he learned of his role for that game, forcing Ancelotti to cool tensions in the press once again. So clearly, Isco felt like he wasn't given a fair shake by his managers at Real Madrid, who 3 managers in a row, Solari, Zidane and Ancelotti, all seemed to agree that he wasn't at a point where he could be a starter for the club.
On May 30th, 2022, Isco announced on his Instagram that he would be leaving Real Madrid, just 2 days after they had defeated Liverpool once again in the Champions League final. Isco signed with Sevilla.
Isco was the big wish of Lopetegui. He really wanted Isco in his side, and that's sort of been reported for the longest of times that Lopetegui has been craving having Isco in his side.
He joined a Sevilla side that, with the benefit of hindsight, was starting to lose some of their potency in La Liga. They closed out the 2021-22 season with just 5 wins from their final 18 matches, and unfortunately that form would get worse and worse considering the personnel that they sold on the defensive end of things.
If you look at Sevilla, they had a horrible transfer market. They really didn't replace Julius Koundé or Diego Carlos sufficiently, which was sort of the heart and soul in their defensive build-up, and obviously allowed them to play an elaborate style of attacking where they had the 2 fullbacks pushing up because they had 2 so solid and flexible centre-backs covering in those spaces. And I think that they've also lacked something ever since Ever Banega left the club, because obviously he was the playmaker and he got everything ticking. And I think that Ivan Rakitic really starts showing his age. And they really haven't been able to replace and sort of strengthen their side as efficiently as they probably should have. He kind of walked into a situation where everything was a disaster, and he himself probably wasn't ready to play a substantial amount of minutes from the get-go, which was also a big problem, I think.
Lopetegui lasted until October 5th and then was promptly replaced by Jorge Sampaoli, the firebrand Argentinian manager who was back in Europe via Marseille previously and ready to return to the club that he had managed back in 2016-17 before taking on the Argentina national team. Sampaoli's character and style is certainly very different from Lopetegui's.
As soon as Sampaoli arrived, I knew that Isco's future in Sevilla was pretty much done. Sampaoli is a hard-working coach who demands a lot from his players in terms of pressing, in terms of his hard work overall.
I think most people that follow Spanish football thought that, there's a culture clash. I mean, where is he going to fit in with him?
His campaign with Sevilla was relatively underwhelming by Isco's own lofty standards, or previous standards, I guess we should say, with the hope that he can find a way to reach them again eventually. The highlight of his time with Sevilla, in my opinion at least, was that goal he scored against FC Copenhagen. I mean, what a strike that was. But anyway, in December, while football was on a hiatus during the 2022 World Cup, Isco and Monchi had a very public spat in front of his squad mates at training, in which Isco stormed out and left Sevilla's training center. Shortly after, it was announced that Isco would also be leaving the club completely by mutual consent after signing for them only 4 months prior.
There's been a long reporting on what actually happened in that discussion between the two, but apparently Isco told Monchi that I only signed for Sevilla because Lopetegui wanted me here.
Monchi, of course, replied in the media by saying that it was a mistake to sign Isco, and that, quote, it would have been a further mistake to continue with the error. In essence, to allow Isco to stay at Sevilla after what had been said in that meeting and how things had transpired. So, Isco left Sevilla, and all through January, question marks over where he would end up were scattered all throughout the media. That is until right at the end of January 2023's transfer window, it looked as if Isco would be joining the Bundesliga title aspirants Union Berlin. On January 30th, Isco traveled to Berlin and underwent a medical, of which he had passed, and had a verbal agreement in place with Union. However, that all fell apart right at the last, leaving Isco without a club at the end of January's transfer window. Union's sporting director, Oliver Runert, who is a genius in my opinion, by the way that this man has lifted that club is incredibly impressive given their budgetary constraints. But anyway, Runert said, quote, we would have liked to have Isco with us, but we have our limits. Today they have been exceeded, contrary to what was previously agreed, so the transfer will not go ahead. So what caused this? What was the sticking point that made this move break down? What are these limits that they have?
I mean, there was two reports which were really interesting, I thought, because you had Union that said that he had changed his wishes economically upon arrival in Berlin. And it's the Isco camp that have seemingly said that they believe that he'd be in the Europa League squad. But considering that Jusuf Juranovic was also signed, Union had to choose between Juranovic and Isco, and they obviously wanted to have Juranovic because they sold Rio Schon to Borussia Dortmund, so they wanted to have Juranovic instead of Isco in that Europa League squad. And I suppose that perhaps what had happened at that point is Isco said, fine, but I want more money if I'm not even going to play in the Europa League. So I'm guessing there's a little bit of both sides having a little bit of correct and a little bit of wrong here.
And so, to this day, Isco is in the same place that he was upon leaving Sevilla, in somewhat of the same place that he was in at the end of his Real Madrid contract last summer, considering his options and trying to stay in shape with a fitness trainer at home. He has had offers from clubs in La Liga, allegedly. Betis were said to be interested, amongst others, as well as a move to Flamengo in Brazil, but that was denied immediately by Isco's representatives. It is believed that Isco is very interested in a potential move to MLS, but they couldn't get that over the line either as of now, given the wages that Isco would demand to play in North America. So, what do you do?
But once you think of it, in Malaga was the only place in which he was really the big star, where he was the focal point of the attack of the side. So I think that kind of summarizes a little bit why he has been so successful in some parts of his career when he's been able to be that focal point, and why he keeps failing at certain clubs as well, and why he perhaps maybe feels a little bit more important than he actually is at times.
Isco will be turning 31 next month, and while he has plenty of offers to consider from teams in Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, to the Premier League, Italy, and Spain, around the globe, he is yet to make a choice. Should he make the right one, to find a team that doesn't play with too much intensity, that allows him to be the focal point of the attack as he was back in the day, then he will still have a lot to offer. From what we have seen in the last couple of years, it feels as though some time has been wasted by the fantastic footballer. Someone who was at one time seen as the next big star for Spain in either the midfield or on the left wing, but hopefully he finds his way again. That will do it for this story, guys. Thank you to Lucas and Jonas for their help. They both provided great insights, so check them out in the description below. And hey, thank you guys for joining me for this video. I really enjoyed making it, and if you want more, feel free to subscribe. But other than that, have a great day. Ciao.